The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Thank you for joining us today here in FRC Media. We are in the throes of the state election. And one of the things we're doing is we're trying to speak to as many candidates as possible, but we're also giving you an insight into the 5 ballot questions that you'll be facing here in Massachusetts when you go to the polls on November 5th. Today, we're going to focus on ballot question number 3, which is unionization of transportation network drivers. This law would provide that those transportation network drivers the right to form unions for those and bargain with those transportation network companies, primarily Uber and Lyft, that employ them. And this is coming up as question number 3 in November 5th's ballot. And we're going to talk about the yes side on this recording today. And pleased to be joined by 2 individuals. They are Mike Vartabedian and Betania Gonell. They represent United for Justice, which are the proponents of ballot question number 3. Betania and Mike, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Mike, I want to start with you. In general, why is this an issue? Why did you feel and the organization feel the need to make this a ballot initiative here in Massachusetts?
So it's a complicated issue with the drivers that under the National Labor Relations Act, under the Trump administration, they were characterized and categorized as independent contractors, which means that they are not covered by the National Labor Relations Act and do not have the ability to form a union. And we've had a lot of interaction with drivers over the years. We're a big union in the airports where a lot of the drivers are. And we also, in New York City, had started organizing black car drivers many years ago with a similar situation, and eventually started organizing Uber and Lyft drivers and realizing that these companies are taking advantage of these workers, and to an extreme extent. They are making poverty wages, have no benefits, all the costs of the business are on their shoulders. And we started figuring out that we needed to do a state law to allow them to unionize. There was a desire for the drivers to unionize, and the state law was the only way to do it. And there's many ideas on how to do it, and there's a lot of people with, there's obviously the lawsuit, the Attorney General's lawsuit about the misclassification and so on. But this was the best way to do it, and the urgency that we felt and the drivers felt after organizing them, we felt that it was necessary to resort to a ballot question to get it done.
Yeah. So let me ask you, has this been done in any other states? Is Massachusetts going to be the pioneer, if you will, on this?
We hope that Massachusetts is the pioneer on it. There's no other state in the country. There was, some stuff that went on in Seattle. They tried to pass some city ordinance in Seattle. And the reason why it failed was because you can't have a city ordinance on that would help with the antitrust laws. They'd have to be a statewide law. So that's why we're doing a statewide ballot question on their ability to unionize. And we believe that it is really the only way to get this done and bring a voice to these workers that so desperately need it. And so we're hoping that it's the model that goes across the country.
Yeah. Let me ask you, if this were to pass, what would be some of the benefits to the these drivers being able to form a union and work with the 2 companies? A lot will be, talked about in terms of wages, but I guess what can eventually be bargained would just fall into as any other union would in terms of the issues and terms that could be part of a union negotiation?
Yes, it's wages, hours, and working conditions, but wages are obviously one of the top priorities. But then they also have this issue, which is kind of unique to their industry, which is deactivation, or unique to work. It's deactivation, that you show up for work one day, you go to get in your car, you want to turn on the app, and you find out that you're no longer allowed on the app, that somebody had put in a complaint about you saying that you were speeding or you're driving erratically or you were rude to them or whatever, or you turned down too many rides. You turned them down because they were not profitable, which a lot of them aren't. And they disconnect you with no recourse. You literally, it's like you showing up for work one day, nobody telling you you're fired, and they just change the locks in the door and also change the telephone number. You're not able to get hold of anybody. So we're hoping to have like a deactivation procedure, like some sort of grievance procedure or deactivation procedure for the people that were wrongfully deactivated. And we're finding that some of the people in the other states, that some of the drivers that we have a process with Uber and Lyft about deactivation, that 85% of them are wrongfully deactivated. And living in a college town, I could explain to you how that happens. That some college kid at a bar some night, has a few drinks in him, calls an Uber, which we love to see, right? But then we know they don't have a lot of money, and a lot of them have found out that if you call and complain, or you send an email and complain, that Uber gives you the ride for free, and and wipes that off your bill. And so we see a lot of those, especially in the college towns. So we're hoping for some sort of deactivation. I know that's big to the drivers. And I'm sure that if we have the opportunity for them to have an option to have a union and they choose to have a union, that there will be other proposals on the table. But I know the two big are wages and deactivation.
All right. Let me bring in Betania into the discussion. Betania, you are an Uber driver. Tell us a little bit about your experience working for Uber and why this would be a benefit to you.
Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity to express our voice here. My name is Betania Gonell. I've been driving Uber and Lyft for almost 10 years, 9.5 to be specific. Yeah, I'm a single mother. I have 2 kids. This is why I choose the Uber to have flexibility that I have at the beginning, because when I start working for Uber, I used to work 40 hours a week, 5 days a week, and I have time to spend with my 2 kids. I have 2 kids, one is in college and the other one is in high school. But now I have to work 70, 75 hours a week, sometimes even the 7 days a week. And that means my flexibility is gone. um, yeah, we need this union because, like Mike said, we have two big problems. We have so many, but the two biggest one are the fear, and the other one is the activation. Um, for example, Uber wanna pay you $5 from the airport to downtown, and you have to pay one the toll. They reimburse the toll, but you have to pay $1.50 from those $5 because you are a ride share. Imagine from the airport to the downtown is you are making $3. And yeah, that happened because when Uber started, they were taking 20% of the fare, was 20 for them and 80 for us. Now they taking the minimum they take right now is 50, but they usually take between 60, 70, and sometimes even 80% of the fare. This is why now we are forced to work 70. Me, I work 70 and 75, but I know people who work even 90 hours a week.
Yeah. Let me ask you, a lot of people will look at this and say, well, you're earning money, it's flexible somewhat, but a lot of people don't take into account that there are other expenses that you have. You may not be paying as much as you think you're worth, but you're also paying for wear and tear in your car and gasoline and the like. What kind of expenses have you faced? And obviously with inflation, I would think that those numbers have been heightened over the years, correct?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the problem, that we have to pay everything our own. We have to pay gas, we have to pay maintenance, we have to put mile in our car, and every at least every 3 years you have to be changing your car for a new car. And yeah, those are the expensive mile, gas, maintenance. Have a car wash is so many expenses in our own. That means from that money that expensive too.
Yeah.
Insurance and car payment as
Oh
well,
yes.
which are very big,
Yeah.
and a lot of the drivers buy cars to get into the next level Uber. They'll buy like a luxury SUV to get into the black car part of Uber, and then that's when the deactivation stuff becomes an issue too. That they get deactivated, but they get an $80,000 vehicle that they have to pay for, and trying to get reactivated to get back to work. They bought that vehicle for work. So
Yeah.
they got car payments and insurance too. I just wanted to add that in, which is obviously a huge expense for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
talking about the deactivation, when we get more deactivation is weekends because usually you pick up people in the bar, they are drunk, and like Mike said, sometimes they find out that if you have some complaint, they reimburse the money, and this is why sometimes you are deactivated. Sometimes you pick up someone that was in a bar and smell alcohol. The next rider report that you are under the influence, and that is when Uber deactivate you too. Yes, it's so many reasons for the activation, and it's not just the activation and the fare. We have the terms and conditions that Uber changes every 3 months. Imagine you have kind of contract with a company, and every 3 months they change it. But it's 200 pages. Nobody read it because if you don't sign it, you cannot go online.
Hmm.
And that is the condition. What kind of agreement is that? If you already have one agreement, this is why we need the union to check those terms and conditions and see if they are worthy for us or negotiate those terms and conditions. We have the problem with the DPU, the background check too. Sometimes you accept the background check, but Uber don't send it to DPU, and they said they send it to them. When you call DPU send you back to Uber, and you are back and forth, and you don't have like an organization that you can go and request, hey, what happened with this? Yeah, it's so many issues that we have. Definitely we need the union, we need a representation in our job, we need a voice, we need someone to can bargaining with Uber.
Yeah. Mike, let me just ask you, those that are opposing the issue, and it's interesting that Uber and Lyft itself, from what I gather, has not really been out there on this. I
Mhm.
don't know whether they're looking to see what happens, and if the issue were to pass, they would take it to court. Not quite sure how that will work. I'll get your opinion on that before we're
Sure,
done. But
sure.
you mentioned about um, the legal action that was taken. There was a settlement, I believe, in that where there is more of a guaranteed wage for drivers. I believe it's $32 and
Mhm.
50 cents an hour. Some people may say that's a good wage. How do you respond to that?
It would be a good wage if that was actually what they were getting. So the issue is, first of all, I want to start by saying we support Andrea Campbell and really are supportive of that settlement. Okay, but it's not enough. What it is it's $32.50 an hour for engaged time. So if we're, if a driver is waiting for a ride, gets one ride that that hour, they get, for whatever time they're working, it's calculated at 32.50 an hour, right? So if they're only working for 15 minutes in that hour, even though they've been on that app for an hour waiting for a ride, they're only getting engaged time, and they're only getting like a prorated amount of that time. Plus, they still have all their expenses, as we just discussed. And when you add it all together, it equates to well below minimum wage still. And so we believe there's plenty of room to improve there. And we believe that Uber and Lyft has plenty of money to do that. At one point, they were giving the drivers about 75% of the fare. Now it's down to about 25%, and they're pocketing all the profits, yet putting all of the expenses on and burden on the drivers themselves. So we believe there's room to improve there. We applaud the Attorney General for the work that she did on this, but it clearly is not solving the problem for the drivers.
Yeah. Another argument that may be made is that if this were to go through and there'd be higher employee costs for Uber and Lyft, that they would pass that on to the consumer, who would pay more in terms of their fares of getting driven around, and that may impact the number of possibilities for drivers like Betania to get work. Again, Mike, how does the organization respond?
So I respond that they've got plenty of room to work to give these drivers more of the fare like they used to. And on top of it, they have to remain competitive. There's still the option of taxi cabs and there will be other companies that come out and so on. So they have to remain competitive. So we don't believe that they're going to wind up going up on the price. They're going to have to keep it at a competitive price to keep their customer base. And they can take a little less profit, right? These workers have done the work for them, have earned them the billions of dollars that they're earning, and they can give them their fair share. And they're the ones that are enduring all the costs and doing all the work to get in their labor to get that money, that they could share some of that.
Are there any opportunities for drivers, if this were to pass, to opt out, not be part of the union? And if so, if not, what would be the ramifications? Would they need to leave if they didn't want to join? I mean, how would that work?
No, it'd be what we call an open shop, which means voluntary membership, voluntary dues. You wouldn't have to sign up at all. So the representation would have to come from collecting authorization cards. When you reach a certain percentage of authorization cards, then the union would be the legal representative, and then you would have to have the majority of the drivers, not just the majority of the people who wanted the union. The majority of the drivers would have to accept what was negotiated, so we'd have a ratification. But membership in the union would be completely voluntary. They would not, no one would be required to pay dues. It would be a voluntary dues. No one would be required to attend union meetings or be in the union. It would be an open shop.
Yeah. All right. One final question, and I'll let you both go, and anyone can answer. Maybe Mike or Betania, either one can answer. Two questions. One, what type of support have you received on the initiative, and where can people find out more information?
So we have a lot of support. We've got a lot of elected officials that have supported us, about 50 elected officials and community groups that have supported us. With polling shows that about 70% is in favor of the voting public is in favor of this ballot question. And among drivers, it's 95% that want the option to join a union. So we believe there's a lot of support out there. You can go, I'm trying to remember the website, but we've got lots of information out there on question 3, vote yes on question 3. I think if you looked it up, you could find, I can't think of the name of the website right now. I apologize.
That's okay.
I don't know if Betania, can you remember it? I can't remember the name of the website.
No, I don't remember, but I would like to add something about the 3250 because
Sure.
that is important, in my point of view as a driver. Yeah, the problem with the 3250 is, like Mike said, is engaged time. That means when you get the ride until you drop off, when you get the request. And as an Uber driver, we have busy time. Busy time is like rush hour, 7 in the morning to 9. At that time, you can work, let's say 50% of the time. But the problem is after 9 in the morning, you're going to work like 50% of the time. What that means is if you are 12 hours online, your engaged time is going to be around 6 to 7 hours. This is why the 3250 sounds good, but it's not. Plus, the 3250 doesn't include the expensive, no mile, no gas, no anything. For example, if you make a trip 5 miles in 10 minutes, it's going to be the same. That trip 9 miles, the same 10 minutes.
So while I was listening to that, it's voteyeson3.com, I believe, is the website.
Right. Okay. I was trying to look it up as well. I actually do have one final question, Mike. what's the possibility that this can be expanded to like those who do deliveries and that type of industry?
So that industry, I'm sure there's a way. We didn't focus on that industry. There's also commerce laws that that kind of make it a little more complicated. But our interaction with the drivers, the rideshare drivers, is what we have been following. So, you know, I don't know what interest there is, but I do believe there is some people interested in trying to bring them a union. And I mean, we would obviously love to see that, but it was something we were just focusing on the rideshare drivers right now. But where there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah. All right, Betania Gonell and Mike Vartabedian from United for Justice, asking people to vote yes on question 3. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you for the
Bye-bye.
opportunity.
And
Bye-bye.
thank you for joining us here at FRC Media. And please make a point to vote on Tuesday, November 5th.